Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Impressive channel. Today's video is going to cover a few major topics, so make sure you're settled in because there is a lot to unpack. I want to start this video off on a positive note with some genuinely good news before we transition into the messier conversations. Because if there's one thing I enjoy, it's seeing women come out on the other side of chaos and actually win. So let's start with Jordyn Woods. Jordyn Woods is officially engaged to her NBA player boyfriend, Karl Anthony Towns, and I'm honestly very happy for her. This engagement feels deserved, earned, and rooted in real partnership. Jordyn and Karl Anthony have been together for about 5 years, and during that time, Jordyn wasn't just around for the glamorous moments. She stood by him during some of the darkest chapters of his life. Karl lost several family members to COVID, including his mother, and anyone who understands grief knows that kind of loss changes a person forever. The fact that Jordyn stayed, supported him, and loved him through that says a lot about her character. This wasn't a relationship built on convenience or clout. This was built through hardship, grief, loyalty, and time. I'm also especially happy for Jordyn because of everything she went through publicly in the past. A lot of people remember how the Kardashian family attempted to completely destroy her image after Khloe Kardashian's cheating baby daddy, Tristan Thompson, kissed her. Instead of holding Tristan accountable, they cut. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Impressive channel. Today's video is going to cover a few major topics, so make sure you're settled in because there is a lot to unpack. I want to start this video off on a positive note with some genuinely good news before we transition into the messier conversations. Because if there's one thing I enjoy, it's seeing women come out on the other side of chaos and actually win. So let's start with Jordyn Woods. Jordyn Woods is officially engaged to her NBA player boyfriend, Karl Anthony Towns, and I'm honestly very happy for her. This engagement feels deserved, earned, and rooted in real partnership. Jordyn and Karl Anthony have been together for about 5 years, and during that time, Jordyn wasn't just around for the glamorous moments. She stood by him during some of the darkest chapters of his life. Karl lost several family members to COVID, including his mother, and anyone who understands grief knows that kind of loss changes a person forever. The fact that Jordyn stayed, supported him, and loved him through that says a lot about her character. This wasn't a relationship built on convenience or clout. This was built through hardship, grief, loyalty, and time. I'm also especially happy for Jordyn because of everything she went through publicly in the past. A lot of people remember how the Kardashian family attempted to completely destroy her image after Khloe Kardashian's cheating baby daddy, Tristan Thompson, kissed her. Instead of holding Tristan accountable, they cut Jordyn off, iced her out, and quietly pushed a narrative that painted her as the villain. Jordyn lost friendships, opportunities, and peace because of a man's lack of self-control. But looking back now, it really feels like that separation was a blessing in disguise. Being removed from that environment allowed Jordyn to grow into her own woman, strengthen her self-worth, and eventually find the man she's now engaged to. Sometimes rejection truly is protection, and Jordyn's story is a perfect example of that. What also stands out to me is Jordyn's friend group. It feels like everyone around her is entering a new chapter. Ryan Destiny is engaged, Normani is engaged to NFL player DK Metcalf, now Jordyn is engaged, and that only leaves Lori Harvey, who people speculate may eventually end up engaged to Damson Idris. Whether that happens or not, it's refreshing to see women who have been heavily scrutinized, criticized, and underestimated finally getting their happy endings. I genuinely love to see it. Now, unfortunately, we have to pivot from celebration to chaos because the next topic is anything but peaceful. I want to talk about NFL player Stefon Diggs and the situation that unfolded on Christmas Day, because in my opinion, what he did was messy, calculated, and embarrassing for Cardi B. And before anyone gets defensive, yes, Stefon has the right to be a father to all of his children. That's not the issue. The issue is the way this was handled publicly and the timing of it all. For those who don't know the timeline, Cardi B has been involved with Stefon Diggs for over a year. When Cardi was 8 months pregnant with her last child by Offset, Offset publicly accused her of cheating. Many people suspected the other man was Stefon Diggs, and Cardi later confirmed that it was true. After giving birth, Cardi went on to have another child, this time with Stefon, and she publicly claimed him as her boyfriend. She even said he was healing her after the trauma of her marriage to Offset. Cardi framed Stefon as a fresh start, someone who was helping her move on emotionally. But here's the reality that people are now waking up to. Stefon hasn't just been healing Cardi, he's been healing a whole lot of people, and in the process, he's also been leaving damage behind. One of his exes, model Chris Blake Griffin, accused him of making unwanted sexual advances toward her and claimed he threatened her life after she rejected him. That story didn't get nearly enough attention, but it matters when we're discussing patterns of behavior. This isn't just about messy relationships, this is about character. Fast forward to now, and Stefon has publicly confirmed that he welcomed multiple children in the same year with different women. He has a newborn with Cardi, he has another child with Instagram model Laura Giselle, he has one with Kay Benji, and there are strong rumors that he also has a child with an Instagram model named Kiana, who some believe is the Kiki Drake referenced in My Feelings. Even if that last rumor remains unconfirmed, Stefon himself has already acknowledged 3 newborns in 1 year. That alone is overwhelming. On Christmas Day, Stefon posted pictures spending time with his other children, and it appeared that he was with another baby mother as well. Meanwhile, Cardi was home with her children, including their newborn. And yes, Cardi knows that Stefon has multiple kids. That's not the issue. The issue is that she does not want him publicly presenting all of this at once, especially on Christmas Day. Cardi cares deeply about optics. She wants to be seen as his main woman. That's why she's been attending his games, posing for photos, and presenting him as a serious, stable partner. She wants the public to believe that this relationship is different. But Stefon completely shattered that image with his Christmas posts. Suddenly, it looked like daddy daycare, multiple baby mothers, multiple newborns, multiple households. And Cardi clearly felt a way about it, which is why she tweeted, "Seems like the ghetto always finds me. Yuck." And I'm going to be honest here. Cardi, you are the ghetto in this situation. You are still married. You chose to have a baby with a serial baby daddy. You walked into this chaos willingly. I understand why Cardi did it. Offset embarrassed her constantly. He cheated repeatedly, even with women in her own industry. That level of disrespect will make anyone desperate to feel chosen, loved, and valued. But one thing Offset never did was have multiple babies with different women while he was with Cardi. Stefon Diggs is a completely different type of situation, and I don't think Cardi truly grasped what she was getting into. This man's own teammates have openly said they would not let him date their sisters. That's not hate, that's a warning. When multiple men independently say the same thing about someone, you should listen. Stefon has a reputation, and Cardi is now living in the reality of that reputation. I genuinely wish her luck, because she's going to need it if she stays in this situation long term. Now let's move on to the final topic of this video, which is the breakup between streamer Kai Cenat and social media influencer Gabrielle Alaya, also known as Gigi. This breakup has been surrounded by wild rumors, including claims that Gigi was upset that Kai didn't buy her a G-Wagon and that she cheated on him with NBA YoungBoy. Personally, I don't believe that narrative at all. I don't see Gigi leaving a multi-millionaire boyfriend to be part of NBA YoungBoy's already crowded situation. However, Kai added fuel to the fire when he went online and announced that he was single and claimed he would never be in another relationship again. Given the rumors circulating at the time, that announcement practically invited his fan base to attack Gigi. She later came out and said she was the one who ended the relationship and firmly denied cheating. She said people rushing to paint false narratives about her based on fake tweets was insane. Honestly, I believe Gigi. I don't think she cheated. I do think Kai running to the internet knowing the power and intensity of his fan base was unfair to her. At the same time, it's clear that Kai is hurting. He loved that girl, and beyond the breakup, Kai seems to be going through a lot personally. His energy has shifted noticeably. He's streaming less, he cut off his locks, he's been open about struggling mentally, and burnout is very real when you're constantly creating content under pressure. Gigi has spoken openly about her upbringing, saying she grew up with money but lacked emotional connection. She said material things never replaced love or emotional support for her. That statement alone explains a lot. Kai's money wasn't enough to keep her around, and that's not an insult, it's reality. Emotional availability matters, presence matters, feeling safe and understood matters more than gifts and luxury. However, this wasn't just any Christmas. This was supposed to be their first holiday together with their newborn son, the baby they welcomed just 7 weeks earlier in November. A moment people assumed would symbolize a fresh start, a locked-in family moment, something that would quiet the speculation and noise surrounding their relationship. Instead, Stefon was nowhere to be found. No matching pajamas, no family photo, no post standing next to Cardi on Christmas morning. And in celebrity culture, absence speaks louder than explanation. The internet doesn't wait patiently. It fills silence with assumptions, and this silence felt heavy. At first, people tried to give it time. Maybe he was late, maybe they were keeping things private, maybe there was a second post coming later in the day. Fans held on to the benefit of the doubt, because no one wants to believe a father would miss Christmas morning with his newborn. But then Stefon posted, and that's when the narrative shifted from confusion to full-blown discourse. He wasn't with Cardi. He wasn't with the newborn. He was at his own place, surrounded by his other children. One photo showed him holding one of his sons. Another featured his daughter. The images themselves weren't bad. In fact, they showed him being present, engaged, and affectionate as a father. But context is everything. What really made people pause was what came next. Stefon reposted Cardi's photo with the baby they share. His caption said he missed them. He joked about Cardi squeezing the baby too tight, said she was making him soft. On paper, it sounded affectionate, but visually, emotionally, the message didn't land the way he probably intended. Instead of reading as loving, it felt distant, like two separate households acknowledging each other across a digital gap. And suddenly, the optics didn't look cute anymore. They looked split. That's when the internet turned up the heat. Questions started flying, and they weren't gentle. People asked why a man wouldn't be with the mother of his newborn on Christmas, why Cardi was holding it down alone while he was celebrating somewhere else. Some went as far as calling her foolish. Others said this felt like the beginning of something ugly, the kind of pattern that people recognize because they've seen it play out before. And yet, at the same time, another group pushed back hard against the criticism. They argued that Stefon was being unfairly dragged for simply being a father to all his children, not just Cardi's. They pointed out the double standard. When he doesn't show his kids, people complain. When he does show his kids, people still complain. They asked a valid question. Can Stefon Diggs just be a father without being villainized? That's where the conversation started getting complicated, because both sides had a point. No one could argue that spending Christmas with your children is wrong. A man showing up for his kids shouldn't be controversial. But the situation didn't exist in a vacuum. The more people looked into it, the more layers emerged, and the more uncomfortable the reality became. This wasn't about one missed holiday. It was about the structure of Stefon's life, and how that structure inevitably creates moments like this. As the details started circulating, people realized Stefon didn't just have 1 or 2 children outside of Cardi, he had several, with multiple women. And the detail that stopped everyone in their tracks was this: 4 of his children were born this year. That means multiple newborns just weeks or months apart, all in different homes with different mothers, all navigating postpartum recovery at the same time. Suddenly, this wasn't just messy, it was chaotic. Babies barely out of the newborn stage spread across multiple households, each with their own expectations, boundaries, and emotions. This is where the broader cultural conversation kicked in. People started talking about how normalized it has become for men to have multiple children back to back with different women, while women are often blamed for choosing wrong. Women can only have one baby a year, yet men can create multiple households in the same time frame without the same level of scrutiny. The imbalance became impossible to ignore. This wasn't about shaming fatherhood, it was about questioning sustainability. How do you show up fully for everyone when your life is divided into 6 directions at once? Then came the explanation that changed the entire narrative. A close friend of Cardi's stepped in and clarified what actually happened. According to her, Stefon didn't skip Christmas with Cardi because he didn't care or didn't want to be there. He skipped it because the mothers of his other children didn't want their kids around unless they themselves were present. No drop-offs, no shared space without supervision, no blending families unless everyone involved felt comfortable. On the surface, that boundary makes sense. Mothers protecting their children is understandable, but in practice, it turned Christmas into a logistical and emotional minefield. Instead of one blended celebration, it became a negotiation. Multiple mothers, multiple boundaries, multiple newborns, and Cardi, freshly postpartum with her own children to protect, made a decision. She chose not to bring herself or her kids into that environment. She opted out of the chaos, and so Stefon went where his other children were. On paper, that sounds responsible, a father showing up where he's needed. But emotionally, the cost of that decision was Cardi spending her first Christmas with a newborn without the baby's father present. And that's where the story stops being about right and wrong and starts being about impact. 7 weeks postpartum is not a small thing. That's recovery, that's exhaustion, that's hormones, sleepless nights, and trying to feel like yourself again while keeping a tiny human alive. In that window, emotional support matters differently, presence matters differently, and seeing the father of your newborn navigating multiple households while you're home healing can hit in a way that's hard to articulate. People started to understand why Cardi stayed quiet, why there were no rants, no explanations, no emotional posts. Silence can be intentional. Sometimes it's the loudest way to say, "This isn't what I imagined." The internet, of course, didn't stop debating. Some people argued Cardi knew exactly what she was signing up for. She knew how many kids he had. She knew how many women were involved. This wasn't hidden information. And that argument holds weight. Cardi isn't naive. She's lived life. She's been married. She's had children. She understood the situation on paper. But others pushed back, saying that knowing something intellectually and living it emotionally are 2 very different experiences, especially when a newborn enters the picture, especially when the first major holiday exposes how fractured everything really is. As the day went on, people started reframing the question. It wasn't "where was Stefon" anymore. It became "why does this situation exist in the first place?" Because when a man has to choose between households on Christmas morning and the mother of his newborn isn't the one he wakes up next to, that forces uncomfortable truths into the open. Not about love, not about intentions, but about reality. A reality where someone is always going to feel left behind. To Stefon's credit, he didn't disappear. He didn't ignore his kids. He showed up, and from a fatherhood perspective, that's hard to criticize. But showing up is one thing. Creating a life where showing up requires leaving a newborn behind is another. And that's where the discomfort really settles. Because this setup doesn't just affect adults, it affects babies. It affects future birthdays, holidays, school events, and milestones that will always require compromise, separation, and explanation. Christmas didn't create this problem, it exposed it. What was supposed to be a milestone moment turned into a moment of clarity. Too many moving parts, too many households, too many emotions trying to occupy the same space. Nobody lost the holiday, but nobody won either. And once something like that plays out publicly, there's no pretending everything is smooth anymore. In my opinion, this breakup might actually be necessary for both of them. Kai needs time to focus on himself, his mental health, and possibly therapy. Gigi may need the same. Sometimes relationships end not because of betrayal, but because people are growing in different directions. And who knows, they may find their way back to each other one day. Stranger things have happened. At the end of the day, all three of these situations show different sides of relationships. Jordyn Woods is an example of patience, loyalty, and long-term love paying off. Cardi B's situation shows what happens when healing is rushed and chaos is mistaken for passion. And Kai and Gigi's breakup highlights how emotional disconnect can end a relationship even when money and fame are present. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think about Jordyn Woods' engagement, the Stefon Diggs and Cardi B situation, and Kai and Gigi's breakup down below in the comments. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this video if you care. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!